All right, boys, we're going to do something different today. I'm going to live fix between 5 and 7 people's TRT protocols, specifically regarding erections, on air with you. What I want you folks to take from this is, from a high-level TRT coach's perspective, how to deal with some of the various problems that people run into on TRT regarding erections. So when you're trying to dial in your protocol, employ the strategy that I'm employing when modifying these people's protocols so that ultimately you just know what to do. And I think you'll find there are common themes, as I've discussed many, many times ad nauseum on this channel, to achieving really, really stable, really, really healthy erections on TRT. So sit back, relax. Let's fix some protocols, boys. All right, before we start the video, Low Cortex Labs is a TRT guidance, sexual dysfunction resolution, and performance optimization company. Major specials right now, boys, still coaching 50% off. I'm a coach on fixing libido and erection issues, specifically on TRT or from the use of hair loss drugs. You can hire me in under a minute. It's a one-on-one ongoing coaching package. Right now, they're 50% off. That is significantly discounted. The moment you book, I'm reaching out to you. We're getting on the fact-finding call. And Geronimo, brother, we start. Again, discount code Coach Discount saves thousands of dollars right now. Secondarily, sourceless if you need to get your hands on any anabolic you can think of, including the high potency DHT gel, which a lot of people need to dial in their protocol. Just get sourceless. It's discounted. Codes on the screen. Last, if you have to dial in on Cypionate for libido and erections, I created an entire video course about it, and you can download that and start watching it and executing instantly. livecortex.com. All right, so what I did here is I went into the testosterone subreddit and just typed in erections to find threads of people that are having erection issues. We're going to go through those threads, see what the problem is, and we're going to reorient their protocols to solve the erection issues. All right, first one, TRT, nocturnal erections, but ED. Okay, so this is a good thing. What this immediately tells me is that the guy has enough DHT, but estradiol's overrange. Make no mistake, boys, this is a point within a point. DHT is what drives the morning and the nocturnal erections, okay? Without sufficient DHT, you're not going to have them. You're going to notice if you dial in on cream that the nocturnal and the morning erections are stronger, better, and more frequent than if you're dialed in on injections because of the added DHT. Guy goes, I'm very sensitive to try. I recently lowered my dose to 50 milligrams per week. 25 milligrams twice a week, nocturnal erections almost all night, but having ED issues with my wife. My E2 was 39 a few weeks ago before I lowered the dose. I had ED and other E2 symptoms at the time. Maybe I just need to give the lower dose more time. I lowered it 2 weeks ago. Okay, first of all, never fucking lower your dose to 50 milligrams a week. That is not TRT. And you're doing more damage than good in this case. Started to get nocturnals back because the E2 dropped and there was still enough DHT to facilitate nocturnal erections. But now, regarding sex with his wife, like, he doesn't even have enough, he probably doesn't even have enough fucking estradiol at this point, right? If E2 was 39 a few weeks ago and then he dropped it to 50 milligrams a week, the E2 probably tanked. And when it's low enough, you're not going to have erections. I don't know what this guy's dose was, but the way to fix this is just immediately to go to 98 milligrams a week. That's 14 milligrams a day. Inject daily. Do nothing for 5 straight weeks. You can't give a TRT protocol. When did he lower this? 2 weeks ago, and feel better and no other E2 symptoms. First of all, with a fucking long ester, boys, you cannot make decisions on what to do next on assessing the protocol and whether or not it's working after 2 weeks. It is true that, forget about steady state and the blood's getting where they need to be. Yes, that has to happen. But then thereafter, there might still be a 1 to 2 week period where your body adjusts to the new hormone homeostasis. I see this all the time. 5 weeks after a dose change, you've got one state. Libido erections, okay. 6.5 weeks after that change, libido and erections are perfect, because then hormone receptors, androgen receptors, estradiol, DHT, and penile tissue, they all regulated, and then you're dialed in. So in this case, go to 98 milligrams a week. That's a fail-safe for Cypionate. Let it go, see where estrogen lands, then determine are erections and libido good. You know, you can move up if they're not particularly great, because that's probably the direction you might need to go in. Down, I wouldn't go any lower than 98 milligrams a week. Potentially, Once estrogen is stabilized at that 98 milligrams a week, doing daily injections, if erections aren't phenomenal and you do bloods, estrogen's in range, DHT's in range, the only option you have at that point is just to add a little more DHT via transdermal DHT, 20%, or maybe a pump of scrotal cream at 100 milligrams per milliliter. You'll get the extra DHT, problem solved. Next one, still got erection inconsistencies. Hey guys, I've been on TRT for 7 months now. I would think I have somewhat found a sweet spot in doses. However, I still have major inconsistencies with everything from morning erections to trying to have sex without some kind of Viagra. It's really annoying because I thought starting TRT, because of the really low T I was suffering, that this resolved the problem, but it hasn't. All right, so first of all, major point, no. This is the fallacy that a lot of folks have. You can't just fucking inject testosterone willy-nilly and expect everything to resolve. As I said yesterday, and as I'll continue to hammer home, you've got to surgically manage the metabolites, everybody. DHT and estradiol. Estradiol being in range, in your range, a little bit above the actual Quest reference range, above 29 picograms per milliliter is usually problematic, but at 35, you might be okay. And you need DHT at the very least mid-level of the range, but preferably close to superphysiologic or a little bit superphysiologic. Unfortunately, we don't have doses in this case. He does give us a little clue, though. He goes, a little while after that, I did start HCG, so I'm wondering if there's a potential relation. Did I spike estrogen? Did I knock my hormone balance? The bottom line with this situation is yes, if you were already around your estrogen threshold, call it you were at 29 picograms per milliliter. It looks like as there's been inconsistencies, probably at 35, 40, 45 picograms per milliliter. Then you bring in any dose of HCG above 100 IU a day, the estrogen is going to go up. That's one of the things HCG does. Not just from testosterone in the testicles being stimulated, but it independently stimulates Leydig cell generation of estradiol. So in this case, you must have your test dose in a place which lands you somewhere on the lower end of estradiol, call it 20 picograms per milliliter, where then your HCG dose takes you to like 29, okay? At 100 IU a day, HCG is not going to significantly increase estradiol. I have proven this with clients. I've proven it with myself. At 100 to 125 IU a day, subcutaneous, everyday HCG injection, you're maybe bumping estradiol up 2 to 7 picograms per milliliter max. It's when you start shooting for every other day, 300, every other day, more, then you start shooting the estradiol a little further up. You've got to get the test dose down in this case, 100, 110, 120, to where estrogen falls around 20, maybe even 18, maybe even 15. But then the HCG you're taking bumps it up within your range. And then, of course, as we said, remember, at that point, you've got to assess and go, are libido and erections perfect? Are they great? If they're not, you need more DHT. Transdermal DHT, very low doses, 1 milligram a day. I've done videos on how to reconstitute the 20% stuff to get 1 milligram per drop of DHT. This stuff dials people in. Or, again, low concentration, 100 milligram per milliliter testosterone cream. Here's another one, okay? Subpar erections, worse after TRT. Solutions, question mark. You're going to find generally the theme is, and the theme with everybody that has erection issues on TRT is you're just confused about how this works. Hi, since starting TRT a year ago, at first erections were solid. Well, of course they were. You still had some natural function going. Your estradiol was coming up, but it hadn't reached this new steady state of 45, 55, 65 picograms per milliliter, and you were getting flooded with DHT, otherwise known as the honeymoon period. Of course, you're going to have fucking great erections. The reason that goes away is because estrogen goes over range and your hormones go out of balance. Here's the dose, though. I take 200 milligrams of T per week, 3 times per week, Cypionate. By the way, if you're doing more frequent injections with 200 milligrams a week, you're doing yourself no favors. The only time frequent injections make sense is at the dose ultimately that lands you in range in estradiol. With 200 milligrams a week, no matter if you're injecting it every day or if you're fucking injecting it 3 times a week, you're still going to go over an estradiol for most folks, all right? So it doesn't even fucking matter. At the same time, though, 250 IU of HCG every other day. This is just an estrogen-dominant protocol. Period. That is all. This is not rocket science. Okay. There's no hidden, like people like to get all seemingly crafty about it. Like, oh, it must be my androgen receptors. It's bullshit. It's not your androgen receptors. You can't modify androgen receptors in some significantly deleterious way without doing that with rats in a fucking lab, dude. And there are no drugs to date, by the way, that cause issues with androgen receptors. I mean, unless you're potentially talking about prostate cancer, anti-androgen therapy or something. He goes, no AI. Well, that's the problem. First of all, if you want to keep that dose of 200 plus 250 IU of HCG every other day, and you don't know if you can tolerate AIs, fucking you have to try an AI. Try Arimidex. 0.125 milligrams once every 7 days would be a great place to start. Almost definitely that's going to get the estradiol down. If you can't tolerate AIs, joint pain, loss of libido, all this other stuff, you got to move the dose down. You know, in this case, if you're doing 3 times a week, just go to every day. Go to the fail-safe. You know, in this case, go to like 112, 119, 126 milligrams a test per week. Get that HCG down to 100 IU to 125 IU per day. Do nothing for 6 weeks. Run estradiol sensitive at week 5 so that you can see where it's trending. And again, once you're down there, when you're in range in estradiol, close to in range, it's about, do I have everything back? If not, added DHT. Problem solved. But boys, I mean, if you're taking 200 milligrams, I'm just, guys, I need you guys to listen. Please believe me. Stop taking the advice of the folks that are out there going, just as long as your thyroid is good and your health is good and your liver is good and your insulin signaling is good, then you don't really have to worry about estrogen. Stop it. Estrogen, per the scientific literature, per every single one of my clients, per myself, which doesn't matter, but the clients matter, over your range, effectively, if you will, competes with DHT. You can have as much DHT as you want. You're still going to have erection issues if estrogen is over your range. All right. Get it down. Here's an interesting one. All my labs are normal, but my erections are inconsistent without Viagra and Cialis. So let's break this guy's dose down. Total T is 972. It's 0.25 cc 2x weekly. So that should be 50 milligrams twice weekly for a total of 100 milligrams a week. Everything else up here is pretty in range. Estradiol sensitive 28.5, SHBG 42, DHT 54. So you would look at this and go total T 972, estradiol 28, DHT 54. What's the fucking problem? Generally speaking, if estrogen is in range, which it is 28 points, that's a great place to be. Total T is up there. DHT looks fine, but you don't see anything discernibly wrong with the protocol that would be causing erection issues. It's that this DHT number, let me highlight this, of 54, it's kind of mid-range. You know, top of the range is 85. Almost definitely, and in all the cases that I've seen, that DHT has to be higher. Again, we're coming back to the point that I've made several times in this video and several other videos that I've made. You can have estrogen range all you want to. If you don't have enough DHT, your erections are going to suffer. DHT drives the nocturnals, the morning erections, the very hard, thick, rigid erections. Longevity of erections are driven by dihydrotestosterone. The simple solution to this would just be to add DHT. That's it. I'd get the 20% stuff. I'd dilute it to 1 milligram per drop and run 1 drop on the scrotum every day or every other day. And then the guy's going to find erections come back. You do not need, with the exception of 5 milligrams Cialis a day, which I think is a very healthy thing to do, but it's not really significantly helping erections to some degree. I don't know, maybe 10%, maybe 7%. It's not significant. You do not need to be dosing Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, any of this shit on TRT if you're dialed in. You should be able to be perfectly great with 5 a day. 10 milligrams a day is kind of pushing it, but you can get away with that. Or no Cialis. He's already in the sweet spot, boys. He's already in the sweet spot. He just needs more DHT. That's all. And you can do it with the 20% DHT stuff, or you can knock the test dose down a little bit, call it, to 84 milligrams a week instead of 100, do daily injections, and then add a pump or 2 of low concentration testosterone scrotal cream. Almost guaranteed, few weeks go by, problem solved. All right, next case. This is a crazy one. On TRT, 1.5 years. So this guy's injecting testosterone for 1.5 years. still struggling with erections, this is a problem. And this guy's not alone. A lot of folks are on TRT for a while, and just because they're taking in the wrong information, largely from fucking YouTube, they cannot dial in erections. All right, guy goes, after a steroid cycle, all right, so here's a variable here. 4 years ago, I suffer from ED. Cycle was 700 of tests a week for 10 weeks. For the last 2 months, I've added test cream to the scrotum every day, along with my injection protocol, and libido increased. I'm also on daily Cialis. Protocol, it's 160 milligrams a week, divided into 2 doses per week, so that is 80 milligrams at a time every 3.5 days, it looks like, and a click of cream every morning, daily Cialis, and no AI. He goes, but how do I fix the erections? Could it be high E2 even though my testosterone is high? Here's another one of these things that fucking grinds my gears. It does not matter, boys. Hold on. It does not matter if your testosterone is high, if estrogen's over fucking range. Okay? You can have all the tests and all the DHT in the world. This idea that about ratios, well, as long as my test is at 1500, I should be able to sit with E2 at 67 picograms per milliliter. Not true. I have never, you guys might wonder why I'm so passionate about this, because I just don't understand why people are saying things that are antithetical to what I've consistently seen over 7 years of coaching on TRT. I do not see people that can tolerate high estrogen just because their test is 1700 or 1500 or 13 fucking hundred. 160 milligram injections is where he landed, plus 1 click of test cream. Doesn't say the concentration. Solution to this is really easy. Keep the click of test cream. Keep it. I would keep it. Yeah, on 160 milligrams a week of test, you need to get your estrogen in range. Take it down to 120, give it 5 weeks, do nothing. Run estradiol sensitive at week 5, get the results at the end of week 5, determine what to do from there. If estrogen is still above range, you take that 120 down to 112. Rinse and repeat. If it's still above range, you take it down to 105 to 98 milligrams to 105. You get estrogen in range. At this point, because you have a little cream, you get estrogen again around 20 or so, and then a pump or two of the low concentration, 100 milligram per milliliter cream, is going to get both the DHT up, which you're going to need at those lower doses of test, and it's going to bump estrogen up a little bit and probably not enough to go over range. It'll probably be under the Quest range or right around the top of the reference range on Quest, which is 29 picograms per milliliter, but have enough DHT to support erections and libido, then you're right off into the sunset. Next one, low libido, weak or no erections. After 7 weeks on TRT, labs included, I'm on 250 milligrams enanthate once every 2 weeks. Yes, bad protocol, but I need some stuff to change it, and I will change it probably to 100 milligram once per week. Before my balls died, so this is a key point here, I had super strong libido and erections. I missed that. I also think this problem ruined my last relationship. Are there real solutions to this problem? So he has labs, but let's get back to the whole dead balls situation. All right. Testosterone total, this is nanograms per milliliter, so it's a little different. He's at 650. He's right around the top of the range there, so that is obviously fine. But if you look at estrogen, it's estrogenos totales, so like I don't think this is estradiol sensitive, but either way, let's say it's somewhat accurate. It's 78.19 picograms per milliliter. 78. 80 picograms per milliliter estradiol. Say that's 20 points off, because they're usually inaccurate unless it's the estradiol sensitive, and he's at 60. Fucking estrogen is too high. I mean, I'm just broken recording this because that's ultimately the problem. And again, as long as you have enough DHT, estrogen needs to be in range and you're good to go. So he's taking 250 milligrams enanthate once every 2 weeks. Ultimately, that's going to take estrogen over range for the first week. First week and a half maybe. Depending on how fast you clear estradiol, it might still be over your range at that point. Again, boys, I'll say it over and over again. If you're having trouble with this and you can't dial in on an AI, his idea of 100 milligram once per week, okay. All right, so let's just diagnose this for a second. Number one, key point. Before balls died, I had super strong libido and erections. Fucking start the HCG back. Like, this is just, people look for, again, like these other things that maybe sound intelligent, but make zero sense in reality in terms of physiology and bloods and whatever, that are causing like them to have problems. The solution in most cases is very simple, but people want to think it's more profound than what's the lowest hanging fruit. I don't really know many people in coaching that do well in terms of libido erections without HCG. I just haven't really seen it. A few folks here and there. here and there. For whatever reason, maybe they're making enough luteinizing hormone, FSH. It's very micro amounts that are keeping them semi-functional, but pretty much everybody needs HCG. So bottom line, 100 IU to 125 IU, maybe 200 IU. It really depends on how low your test dose is, but start there. HCG, no matter what. In this case, he's got the right idea, potentially going down to 100 milligrams a week. I think that's a good idea. If you got your HCG at 100 IU, 125 IU a day, then you run your once a week injection of testosterone. Maybe that's going to take estradiol over the range 6-7 weeks later after you've let all that previous anisthate, clear the body and the estradiol to filter out through the urine. And maybe the guy rides off into the sunset at that point. I don't think it's a particularly terrible protocol to have 100 milligrams, one injection per week. If you can tolerate it, that's great. And a little bit of HCG. I mean, it's unlikely that estradiol is going to go over range. And if it does, it won't go significantly over range unless you over aromatize and are super overweight and drink a lot and smoke a lot of pot. So I would try that. Try that just so that you can make the TRT protocol a little more convenient. 100 milligrams a week, one injection, 1-inch needle, upper glute, 100 IU to 125 IU HCG a day. Give that 6 weeks. You're going to need time for all this anisthate to clear the system, especially if you just bolus injected. So the anisthate itself is still going to aromatize. 3 weeks, week 4, it'll be pretty done aromatizing, but it's going to substantially lower week by week. What's the bottom line here, boys? The bottom line is that, number one, people are very confused. They're taking bad advice primarily from people on YouTube that I don't believe have seen enough people to warrant the kind of advice they're giving, that are mostly operating from ideas that sound good and logical, but they actually don't translate to working well in practical reality. At the same time, there are TRT doctors that are on board with this wacky notion of never manage estrogen and estrogen's cardioprotective. Well, of course it is. Yeah, we need estrogen, right? But it's got to be in our range. That's so a critical cornerstone of a good TRT protocol, to have it where you need it to be, that you will not function in terms of sexual function when it's not in your range. But on that note, especially if you have the budget and you're a busy person and you just want someone to manage the protocol for you to fix libido and erections, just hire me. Right now, coaching is 50% off. These are one-on-one packages with me where I'm going through everything. We start with a fact-finding call. We dial in the numbers. We dial in the hormones. I'm a results-driven coach. That is what I do. It is what I do every day, and I've done it for years. Use the code COACHDISCOUNT at livecortex.com for any of the one-on-one packages. It takes them 50% down. It is a multi-$1,000 reduction in price for all of them. The moment you book, we're on the fact-finding call within 24 hours or so, sometimes even that day, and then from there, brother, we start. You're in my hands. You get to relax, focus on your work, focus on your life. We'll get the libido and erection problem solved. All right, you can go and check out any of the packages, livecortex.com. Hire me in under a minute. Right now, they're 50% off, so please use the discount code. Save money, jump on board, and let's go. Source list. If you need to get any anabolic you can think of, including 20% DHT gel, just get source list. It's 30% off right now, 30% off down the description of this video. Lastly, if you need to dial in on Cypionate, which is hard to do in most cases, just buy Mastering Testosterone Cypionate. It's an 1 and 5 minute video course, teaches you everything you need to know, the progression, the order, the format of protocols to reach libido and erections on Cypionate, which is particularly hard, which is why I created this course. Download in under a minute. livecortex.com.
All right, we have concluded with the video. So now like the video, please.
Brothers. Yeah, like the video. It makes a huge difference if you would just hit the like button. It's free to do, costs you nothing, and really does boost our channel out there. Sub to the channel, much more content to come forever in the time continuum, and thousands upon thousands of videos, lots of really detailed content about TRT, biohacking TRT on the channel already. Love to have you on board. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on. Much more content coming this week, and I'll talk to you boys in the next one.